Dystopia warning, obviously. Been a while, hasn't it? So I'm going to ease you in with a nice little gentle topic like the fact that we're all going to fucking die. Yes, that's right. There's a climate crisis and our politicians are doing absolutely nothing about it because they're nuts deep in fossil fuel money. Do you want to know something that sounds like a conspiracy theory but isn't a conspiracy theory? The fact that Conservative MPs that are supposed to be elected to serve us don't work for the constituents. No. They work for the shady companies they're paid thousands to lobby for in their second, third, fourth, fifth jobs. And that's why they become MPs, for the links, the profits, the status. We don't choose our Prime Minister anyway. Non-dom billionaire press barons do. And those press barons control the information sources or the misinformation sources that millions of us see and millions of us believe. Their output sets the narrative and the national conversation that's discussed in, news channels, the morning political rounds. And the government don't just allow it, they participate in it. It's all dark arts and deals in the Carlton Club during booze and cocaine-fueled lunches. And that's how it works. And that's why you've got people running around at the moment believing nonsense like there's no such thing as a climate crisis. Because GB News are no better. They're populist shills for disaster capitalists and the hedge funders that are really in control of what's going on. You don't have to look very far back to their donors to discover links to the fossil fuel industry. And what things like GB News do is they have just the right balance of absolute fucking nonsense and output that justifies people's innate bigotry. Their desire to see things return to the good old days when hate crimes were rife. You could still legally rape your wife. Back in the days when people lapped up anything that a guy in a raggedy arse suit with a pint in one hand and a cigarette in the other told them. What they don't realise is that these men of the people, like Farage, went to private school and that they've profited massively. GB News don't talk about the fact that they're foreign funded, and some of their presenters don't talk about the fact that the very people that donate to them are hedge funders that short the pound and benefit from Britain's financial decline that we're left to pay back. But yeah, just Stop Oil are the problem, or Greenpeace. They're the real issue, aren't they? Not the fact that we're living in an era of global boiling. Now, if those little spam fellas are fed up with the fact that people are fleeing desperate situations in small boats, just wait until this kicks off. Global refugee crises, people fleeing homes that are either on fire or underwater, crops failing on a significant scale, entire species wiped out. And you've got people moralising about Greenpeace scaling Rishi Sunak's house, one of Rishi Sunak's massive houses, when he wasn't even in. Oh, you should be targeting the Prime Minister's house. Yes, you fucking should. Do it more. I mean, look at this government. They're about as popular as shagging a blood relative. It's precisely how you get people on side. The guy has about 10 houses. It's not that deep. Anyway, talking of Sunak, do you want to know how he's involved? I take it you're familiar with Sunak, yeah? In case you're not, I'll refresh your memory. He's the latest toff that they've drafted in to have a go at running the country. He's the guy who lost against Liz Truss in the leadership campaign. And Liz Truss is the woman who lost to a fecking lettuce. That absolute helmet seems to be having a bit of a weird time of it lately. He seems to be finding it harder and harder to conceal the rage at everyone just not automatically putting up with his nonsense. See him on TV, he's got this kind of barely concealed, gritted, passive-aggressive petulance. Like he smiles and he talks like this, but it's so unbelievably insincere. Do you expect him to just go fucking postal at any moment in a community centre, He's been helping us get to net zero by flying everywhere by helicopter. Yeah. He's like a shit, posh, one-man remake of Top Gun. More like Top Gun. And do you want to know why he's saying that he's flying everywhere by helicopter? So he can deliver. What has he delivered? Besides dangerous floating prisons and the death of many nans with Eat Out to Help Out. He's so shit at delivering that he makes every look good. And this is how they left my last parcel. He also came out as pro-motorist. Pro-motorist. The only reason he's going back on green policy is because the Tories exploited the wedge issue of ULEZ in Uxbridge. Even then, they barely scraped a 400 vote win. So they're rowing back on virtually all green policy to win a handful of votes. Yeah, that's what we're dealing with. But there's a bigger reason why Rishi Sunak is rowing back on green policy and against all sense, logic and justification granted hundreds of new gas and oil licences. The same reason that any Tory would. Follow the money. Infosys. his father-in-law's multi-billion-pound company. Won a $1.5 billion contract with BP months before Sunak granted those oil licences. And it's not just that, no. The CEO of Shell, one of Infosys' other big clients, joined Rishi Sunak's business council a couple of months ago too. Now people say Sunak's wife has minority shares in Infosys. Minority shares that have earned her £6.7 million in 2023 so far. To a family richer than royalty, that's small change. Not to you and me though, especially not when our planet is being destroyed. And do you want to know how Sunak and the government are trying to justify these new gas and oil licences? They're trying to claim that they're saving us money during a cost of living crisis. Who caused the cost of living crisis? It's like your long-term abuser, you know, gently stroking your hair, telling you everything's going to be all right and then setting fire to your house as you sleep. If you take a look into Infosys, it just gets worse. A report by Byline Times last year, around the time Sunak was going for the leadership position, it was revealed that Infosys boasts of its partnership with 2 of the top 5 oil and gas companies, 3 of the top 4 oil providers, and 5 of the top 10 upstream enterprises across gas and oil landscapes. Oh, and Infosys is still trading in Russia, which means that the Prime Minister's wife, and therefore the Prime Minister, is still profiting from doing business in Putin's Russia. But what do you expect from the Conservative Party, who are still receiving substantial donations from Russian-linked donors? Yeah. Since Russia invaded Ukraine, Conservatives have accepted over £243,000 from Russia-associated donors. £61,000 had been donated between January and April 2023 alone. But what do you expect? They're all at it. One of Jacob Rees-Mogg's biggest donors. Remember I told you about him? Crispin O'Dea, the hedge funder that cashed in $220 million as the pound crashed after Brexit. Big vote leave donator. He's donated $22,000 to Jacob Rees-Mogg. And Crispin O'Dea has also reaped millions from investing in Russian mining companies owned by a Russian oligarch close to Putin. He bet against the gas and oil spikes, after Russia invaded Ukraine, which have contributed, alongside Tory corruption and mismanagement of our economy, to a catastrophic cost of living crisis. I wonder why Jacob Rees-Mogg is pro-fossil fuel, denies the effects of climate change. It's a real head scratcher, isn't it? Not a single Conservative MP is working in your interests. They're working for their own vested interests. What do you expect from the party that suppressed the Russia report? What do you expect from people that take money from disaster capitalists whilst pretending to be patriots? What do you expect from fucking traitors? Stop believing the bullshit. There's no climate conspiracy. Refugees aren't the problem. Corrupt rich boys playing at running our country are the problem. The billionaires in charge of our press and media filling us with lies are the problem. It's far easier to fool someone than it is to convince them that they've been fooled. Stop letting yourself be fooled. Stop falling into the sunk cost fallacy, thinking that just because you believed something that's ridiculous for long enough that you have to continue down that path. You're never going to be a billionaire, so stop voting for the people that are shilling for them. I've got more to tell you about GB News and Farage too, so stay tuned for my next video. It's going to be merciless.